Bonjour! You caught me touching up my latest painting. And speaking of art, we're going to be talking about something kind of artsy today. We're going to be talking about the poetry assignment, and I'm going to give you some terms of poetry that'll help you out on your test and will help you out on this assignment. Since we're going to be going over the poetry assignment today, we're going to look at some terms in poetry, and these will be things that you're asked on your test. I know that for sure. So let's go over these and help you to study at the same time. The first thing we're going to talk about is imagery. Imagery is an image that is a word or a phrase that appeals to our senses. And we have 5 senses. I don't want to name them for you, but you know what your senses are. Images are powerful because they speak to real experiences we have all had. Examples would be hearing a sound, smelling an odor, or seeing a beautiful scene. Sensory details. These bring out the exact details of the image that the poet wants you to experience. Examples of this would be your sense of sight, if someone described how bright red an apple may be, or your sense of taste, the fresh coolness that you get when you bite into a fresh apple. Figurative language. This is my favorite part of a poem. It's when the poets put aside the literal meaning of their words for more abstract interpretations. All right, referring back to the previous slide, where it says poets put aside the literal meaning of their words for more abstract interpretations. That's kind of a hard sentence to read and understand. So I'm going to show you some types of figurative language, and maybe you'll understand what they mean. One type of figurative language would be similes, and that's a comparison using like or as. For examples, her cheeks are red like a rose. The creek was dry as a bone. Another type of figurative language is the metaphor. Now that's a comparison without using like or as. It's when two unlike things are said to be one another. So examples of this would be life is a roller coaster, and my brother is the black sheep of the family. One other type of figurative language that we're going to talk about is personification, and that's a type of metaphor in which human qualities are given to something that is not human. Examples of this would be lightning danced across the sky. Well, this is personification because lightning can't physically dance. Another example would be my alarm clock yells at me to get out of bed every morning. And this one is personification because obviously alarm clocks can't yell. Okay, this is the actual assignment or part of it. I had to cut off part of the words on the bottom. But let's read the directions, as always important. Select one of the words at the end of each line to use at the end of your sentences. Your sentences should create a poem that flows from one line to the next. They should not be random descriptions of each word. If you do not know what a word means, look it up in a dictionary or ask an instructor. That's when an email would be handy. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to give your poem a title, and you may want to wait until you have the poem finished to do that. Something you don't want to do is just come up with some random sentences that don't make any sense. Like this one, let's take the first 3 lines. Out in the night, I feel like I'm going to float. My apple is waiting on me to bite. Now, what does that have to do with each other? That's not really a free-flowing poem, and it makes me wonder, what in the world are you talking about? So let's look at this with maybe some words that have a little more meaning to it. How about, I had a crazy dream last night. I was in the middle of the ocean on a boat. A shark was eyeing me, threatening to bite. Instead, he had in his mouth a note. Now, it might be interesting to go on through and see what this note had to say, if you could use some of those words. But anyway, what you need to do is to make that poem flow, and it would be nice if you could have some sensory details, maybe some personification or a simile or a metaphor in it. That would really impress me if you did that. But if you can't, that's okay. Just make sure that you end your sentence or end your line of your poetry with one of those three words. Can't use it in the middle of the sentence. It won't work that way. You've got to use it at the end of your sentence. Welcome back. I just finished my painting. Isn't it beautiful? And, I hope that cleared up any questions that you had on poetry or your poetry assignment. And as always, if you have any questions about this assignment or any other assignments, send me an email. The address is at the bottom of the screen.